So we are here today for our first ever Fuck Your Job episode. And I'm pointing at the screen because it's very important that you hear me.
Fuck your job.
I'm Ron Worley, and this is my buddy Josh Fullenwider.
And I can't pronounce my last name either.
Josh, tell us a little bit about what you... what are we doing here today?
What are we doing? Today we're just getting some thoughts out there about what we want to do, what the type of show that we're presenting out to the public. We want to show people that you really can quit your job, you can start a business, you can just live off of investments too.
It's true.
Yeah.
Josh is doing that right now.
Yeah. Not my favorite. Quitting my job was definitely hard.
Well, so speaking of jobs, what makes you a expert in entrepreneurship and business?
So my background, about 7 years ago, I got into commercial lending and started helping business owners either start businesses or keep their businesses financed. But before that, even about 10, 12 years ago, I started investing in real estate, buying rental properties right in the middle. Well, my first one was right before the recession. That was kind of a lesson learned because it immediately declined in value, but I also saw that rents were about the same, so I bought more properties because that made sense, even though I was losing my ass on the first one. We bought more that were cash flowing, and those have done really well. We got up to 10 properties, I believe, both here in Colorado and then some in South Carolina. While I was buying those, I was working a part-time job at an ice cream store. So that was really stretching every dollar. Learned how to turn $1 into $2 there.
I remember that. He was doing the Be a Banana
song. Yeah.
Go banana. Yeah.
So then the entire time I was in commercial lending, I was continued to buy real estate. I did a flip. You and I invested in a spec home together.
Yeah.
Let me think. Then,
what are you doing now?
Now's the fun part. So, let's see. It's February. Back in August, I decided to leave my job because 3-4 months prior to that, I decided to invest in a franchise, open up Flannel Jack's axe throwing venue, which is going to be hella fun.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. What's an axe throwing venue?
So it's like darts or bowling, just with axes, and you go out, throw them tomahawk style.
Yep. I know what it is, but our viewers may not. Our one viewer that we may get.
One viewer.
Our wives.
The comments are going to be all nasty, and it's going to be from our wives.
Yeah, for sure.
What are you idiots doing?
but I think, so it's not just a fad. This is a thing. People are out throwing axes. They have tournaments. This is a real thing, and it's kind of got onto the public recently. Probably the last year or two, it's kind of blown up.
Really big, and along the Front Range here in Colorado, it's really gaining traction. We've got a couple of competitors that have announced we're all going to be opening up about the same time, which is kind of rough. But the franchise that I chose to go with, we're really happy with them. I think they've got a really distinct set of competitive advantages. So that's why we chose to go with them.
I think that's important, Josh. So both of us have have experience with owning franchises. And for you, why did you go with the franchise versus why, doing it on your own?
Sure. So before I got into banking, I was not nearly as risk averse. First of all, I didn't have anything to lose, so I didn't really care what I tried.
Right.
But after I got into banking, it really taught me a lot about risk assessment and mitigating risk, that sort of thing. So as a banker, it would be very hard for me to make a loan to a guy who just comes in and says, hey, I'm going to go into business with my uncle and start an axe throwing venue.
Right.
Great. Hope you've got cash. I don't care.
Right.
But now somebody who comes in with a strong business plan, a franchise that's been there, done that before, has a strong system in place, clear set of advantages and what they're going to do, all the details hammered out so you don't have to think about them, that's something that I, as a banker, I could make a loan to somebody with
Sure.
that.
Sure.
So that's why I decided to go with a franchise. We did briefly, very briefly, toy with the idea of doing it ourselves. I'm not going to lie, there's a few times that I've sat back and said, I should have done this myself.
Yeah.
But then there's a few times that I've also been like, I would never have had a clue
Right.
where to even find that information, or that I would need that information.
Yep.
So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I think so. So, you know, there's the fallback is you got to pay somebody part of your profit, and you're going to work
Oh, yeah.
hard, and then give you a big chunk of that to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, somebody like ourselves who've never done anything can just step into an industry we've never been a part of, and essentially open a working store or working operating business with all the right tools, all the right look, all that good stuff. So you're going to look like a flannel jacks,
Yeah.
and you're going to run a business the way they tell you until you figure it out and do it better.
Yeah,
Right.
and we're totally buying into the whole flannel jacks theme.
Yeah,
so we went out and bought some flannel already. I've got my
It's funny.
boots on today.
Yeah, cool.
So we're having a lot of fun with it. It's been a
Josh in
blast.
boots.
Yeah. Usually I'm in sneakers,
Yeah.
and they're old sneakers. I hardly ever have new shoes.
Well, those are funny because they're like brand new.
They are.
There's not a speck on them.
So I think I still have the sticker on the bottom.
Oh,
of one
yeah,
of them.
you do.
Yeah, they're size 10. I got them at Ross.
You know, the style now is to roll up your pants.
That's not my.
With those boots.
That's not me. Or when I was in the Navy, you could always see your boots. So
Yeah.
anyway, but that's kind of my background where I'm at. What
Okay.
about you, Ron? I know I know a lot more about you. But
Yeah. Well, so as far as I go, I've always had an entrepreneur type mind. Always wanted to make money out of nothing or make something out of nothing. I started my first business on my own was bail bonds, Ron's Bonds in 1997. I actually started working with my mother, who had been doing this job for a couple of years before me, and then basically hired me on. But that was the first time I ever had to file taxes, file with the state, my trade name and all that good stuff. I became a corporation. And at that time, it didn't mean a lot to me, but as life went on, I started to open up other businesses. And so I've been I've built fences, I've had a fence company, several Max Muscle stores. I think we owned 4 at one time.
and that's what you franchised with. Right?
That's the franchise, yeah, is Max Muscle. So those are retail nutrition shops, and we knew nothing about it. My wife and I were bodybuilders at the time, and we just liked nutrition and thought we could go into that. The fear has been that, for me, is that bail bonds is always on the chopping block. The state of Colorado, the United States, is getting rid of our industry, and slowly but surely they've really taken a lot away from us. So there was always this fear in the back of my head that we're going to go away. And so I needed a fallback plan, which to me, I could never go work for somebody else again, ever. I've been a trash man, I've been a cementer, I've been a waiter, I've done it all, all those jobs, the JOBs, just above broke. And I was just above broke. I always was working paycheck to paycheck, and I always had to work someone else's schedule for somebody else. And that just never made sense to me, and I always got bored at those jobs really quickly. So once I owned my own business for the first time, I was hooked, And,
Yeah.
So since, 2002, I've always owned a second business. So the way I look at it is I have one to pay the bills, and then the other one is for my lifestyle.
Okay.
And when my bills were child support, it was a lot more. And so I had to have a lot of money to pay my bills, and then I needed some money to be able to play and have the freedoms that I wanted. And that's sort of been my claim to fame. I've I tried to become an expert on my values and use those within my businesses. And it seems to have worked, and it works for every single company that we've ever owned. So currently we opened a brokerage for a brief moment, a real estate brokerage for a brief moment. That didn't really work out for us, so we sold our half to somebody else, but we still are currently real estate agents.
Okay.
And I've done a spec home with you, and we've done a couple of flips, and the real estate business right now is really good, and so that's been a good second business, and my wife has done really good with it. But now I've written this book, and it's called Ditches to Riches, and the plan is to go out and help other people figure out how to run their businesses using their values. And for people that want to be employees, absolutely. There's, a lot of people, Josh, have made it in this world by moving up the ladder. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I don't think either one of us think that's a bad thing.
No, I was on that track for a long time and doing really well at it. And I got high enough up on the ladder, and then I was like, I'm jumping off.
And I think a lot of people find that once they get high enough.
Yeah.
When you're in college or you're in high school, you think, I'll move up, and it's exciting, and you get the new jobs for a while, and then it kind of...
Well, and in the right industry, like I really took to banking, and I moved up pretty quickly. I started as a teller, and within 18 months, I was a commercial lender, and through that time, I was a teller. I worked in the accounting department. Then I became a loan assistant, and then I was I was a loan assistant for all of 2 months before they made me an actual loan officer. So it's not difficult in the right industry to move up, but I'm kind of like you get bored.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, so you mentioned your book and your coaching that you're doing.
Yeah.
What kind of success have you had with people so far? I know you've had a few clients already, and I'm
hoping that this program actually sort of does the very thing I'm doing with these mentees. I've had some success so far. It's fulfilling as a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of fun to watch, but it's also a letdown. So years ago, I had addictions, and I became homeless, and I decided to change my life, and really it was for my children. So in 2003, I climbed out of the ditch for reals and got sober. And at that point in my life, I was pretty selfish and whatnot, and I made it to where I'm at today based off of just growing as a person. And I think if I didn't have coaches and people to help me along the way, I never would have got where I was at. And I think it's important to help others. And the success, and what I learned through that process is you can't make other people do something that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so it's constantly being let down by people. Somebody wants to go to AA meeting for whatever reason. They come and then they go get drunk. So, it hurt my feelings. I didn't do a good enough job. And fortunately, I've morphed out of that and into, let's help people be successful. Let's help them change their mind.
Yeah.
And I have 2 guys that are really my claim to fame. They're doing really well. And I set them down right when we first met, and I said, they were both on track to move up the ladder. And I said, there's nothing wrong with that. What's your hope out of that? You want to be the manager or whatever. And both of them wanted to be the managers. But then I said, well, what if you could have unlimited income potential and be your own boss and make your own hours and work that way? Would that be interesting to you? And both of them went, I didn't know we could do that. Yeah. So these kids are 20 years old, and they just didn't know that was an option. Yeah. They didn't know what was out there. And through reading my book and just sitting down and bullshitting and rapping for weeks, and making their own values and deciding what's important to them, they've actually turned around. Both of them have unlimited potential income jobs. One of them even quit his other job. The other one's hanging on to his job, which I think it's important. You always hang on to your other job until you have something going.
It's a good idea to do that, and I wish I had hung on to mine for a little bit longer, but at the same time, it's also given me a lot more freedom to say goodbye. Getting back to it here, we were talking about you and mentoring guys and how satisfying it was. I know for me as a banker, all the time I would get people who would come in and have a great idea and think that I would give them a loan that instant. I've had over 7 years, there was only a handful of people out of say 100 that took it from idea all the way to execution and started a business. I had most people, I learned early on the easiest way to tell if somebody was committed or not was to give them a single homework assignment. No matter how much information they brought me on day one, I sent them to go get one more piece of information. They could have a complete loan package, all their financials, tax returns, business plan, whatever. I would ask them to go get one more piece of information, and then 90% of the people never came back.
Yeah.
And then another, so then the other 10% that did get it, you know, some people, they had a long way to go. So I'd try to coach them through it, be like, hey, I need you to put this information together, do research on this, show me what you're doing here and the research that's behind it. Because you can't come to me with an idea. You had to have a business plan of this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm going to do it, here's what the research is.
Right.
I'd say another 8% would fall off in that process. And then really only 2% would get all the way to opening their store or whatever it was they wanted to do.
It's not much.
And then that was even true for people who already had a business and trying to grow it either by buying a new piece of equipment to opening a new location. The grand ideas, and they just fall off. It got to be, they got either comfortable or it wasn't as easy as they thought it was going to be. And my own personal experience, it's definitely not as easy getting that first store or location or whatever.
You could have quit 100 times by now and nobody would have blamed you.
No. So but anyway, so that's kind of my thoughts on it.
So do you think, I talk about this in my book a lot and with my mentees, the people I coach, there's a certain amount of bravery that you must have in the business world. It's a huge difference between those people who are brave enough to start a company and those who just have an idea. And I think, and maybe this, you can relate with this a little bit, maybe our viewers can relate with this a little bit. You have an idea and it sounds easy to go to the bank and get a loan, and then the bank gives you one more piece of paper you need, and that was just enough to make you stop.
Yep.
Right. And in my world, the motto is, fuck it, try it.
Right.
And at all costs, you have to try it. You don't know if it's going to work until you try it. And we can be as confident as we want to be, thinking that things are going to work. And of course, you've done your due diligence and you've got the right company and you're going to start this new company here real soon. But you still don't know.
Yeah.
So really, you're just taking a leap of faith.
Oh, yeah.
In your own efforts.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of work that I've put in just to get this far is monumental. I quit my job in August. That was 6 months ago now almost. And since that time I've more weeks than others, but overall I've dedicated probably an easy 10 to 20 hours a week just working on the business. And I'm not even open yet.
Right.
So that's creating a business plan, touring the area, finding properties, looking at properties, talking to general contractors, talking to lawyers. I've gone through a lot of coaching with it. So I hooked up with the Small Business Development Center. They do like business plan coaching. So they help me put together my actual business plan. And I've read a lot of business plans. I have a great understanding of financials that go into business. I know a lot more than the average person that's, say, transitioning out of a tech job to starting their own business. Like, I understand business a lot better, and I was still not prepared for the amount of work that it would require. Right. So it's definitely a commitment, and it takes people around you supporting you.
Right.
So I found that the one thing that I did that really forced me over that edge was telling people that I wanted to do it.
Yep.
Because as soon as I told you about it, you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then every time I saw you or talked to you, you're like, how's it going? I'm like, well, I didn't do anything this week.
Now
So
I gotta make this go because this asshole's gonna think I'm
yeah, exactly. But that's what it takes. It takes a mentor or a really supportive friend network. You know, and I've been blessed with a lot of, not even a lot, some supportive friends.
Yeah.
I've also talked to some people who are like, oh, you shouldn't do that.
Right.
I don't talk to those people anymore.
Right.
Because they, you know, they had a negative mindset from the beginning. And not that I wasn't, I'm not friends with them. They just,
they don't
get what I'm doing.
Right, exactly. And I think we attract like-minded people. And when we grow, your friends change because you're finding new friends in the same like-minded situations that you're in. And I think that's important to mention that, you know, this is your business, you and your wife, Rebecca, period. And nobody's going to be there to pick up the pieces if you fail.
But yeah.
Your bestest friend in the world is not going to be able to give you $300,000 to pick your ass off the ground and make it all better.
Yeah.
If nobody wants to throw axes, that's the deal.
That's it, and that could happen.
So, is there a parachute that you pull at some point? Have you come up with what do I do if it gets this bad scenario?
No, and
Good.
I haven't for a very specific reason. Is because I don't want to do it.
Amen.
So when
You don't
I quit
wanna put that in your head.
Yeah, when I quit my job, I really strongly considered getting a part-time job. There were some part-time banking jobs that I could have gotten, even doing commercial lending, still making decent money.
Yeah.
Because as a commercial lender, I was making really good money. Yeah. So I could have made decent money all along, still worked on the business. And I actually did interview for one, talked to the guy, and you know, I think all I needed to do to get that job was to call him back up and say, hey, let's do this. Mm-hmm. And I didn't do it. And shortly after that, I shaved, got a mohawk, burned. I was like, nobody's gonna hire me other than like a McDonald's with a mohawk. Right. And I don't want to work for McDonald's. Nothing against McDonald's.
I don't know. These days, people come in with, you know, earrings.
They do, but like, you know, banking's really old school. Yeah. I worked for a progressive bank, and we still had to wear ties certain times, and you know, I had to keep a jacket with me at the bank, and I am not a tie and jacket type of person, but there were times when I had to wear it because that was what you did.
That's what a banker does.
Banking's, you know, unfortunately banking's old school, but anyway, no, I don't have a parachute.
Good.
We'll either we will make axe throwing work, or we won't. And at the point where we can't, we'll figure something else out. Yep. But no, I don't have a fallback plan.
I think that's wise because
I do have other things I want to do still.
Right. So that's wise because if you have a fallback plan, you'll fall back to the plan. Yeah. And it's a good idea that you get this up and running. If you have other things you want to do, the goal would be, I'm assuming, that you can run this from a telephone so that it runs and you can go do that thing you want to do after this.
Yeah, so as frustrating as it has been to get open and all the steps and all the things that I wasn't aware of, while I'm going through it, I'm like, oh, there's another opportunity over there. I can go do that business too. So I worked with a franchise consultant when deciding what type of business I wanted to open. And he's been great, but he also sent me information on dozens of businesses. Yeah. And I had to pick one. Yeah. I still talk to him like, hey, what about this other business? Because I see other franchises. I'm like, hey, what is this? Send me information. And you can find out all sorts of financial information about franchises with just a few phone calls. So
yeah. I didn't know there was such a thing. So you have a franchise consultant.
I do, a franchise consultant.
How does he get paid?
So when I paid my franchise fee to Flannel Jacks, he got a percentage as his paycheck. So he's a salesman.
Oh, so he's landing deals. Okay.
He's almost like a real estate broker.
Yeah. So. Okay, so he finds you the right deal. He gets paid his 15% or whatever, and then, but he's been working for you for free since then.
Yeah, he worked for free until that point, and he keeps sending me stuff. You know, I think I was a very easy person for him to land a sale on, so he doesn't mind doing that extra work, because I said, hey, I'm going to do this, and when I approached him, said, I'm really interested in axe throwing. So he's like, well, you know, you should look around, and he, you know, tried to caution me and give me more options than just axe throwing. So talked to him about an axe throwing thing, and as we're going through this, that for about a month, I looked at various opportunities. I'm like, no, I want to do axe throwing. He said, at the very end, he said, hold up, there's another axe throwing company opening up. And he said, I think they've got a better management team. They own another franchise concept. From what I can tell, it's just a much better run company. And that ended up being Flannel Jacks.
Oh, cool.
So I was ready to go with another company, and he said,
that's cool.
Wait 2 weeks, because they haven't finalized their FDD, which is their franchise disclosure document. They haven't finalized that yet. As soon as they do, I'm gonna set you up with them, and you need to talk to them. So he's like a headhunter, if you will, and he was worth every penny that you didn't pay him. Yeah, I didn't pay him. I mean, I paid him roundabout, because I'm sure my franchise fee could have been lower, but he's earned every penny of it. And so he said we had weekly calls, plus he would send me information all the time on different concepts. Just kept me in the loop of what was out there.
So something I learned about franchises, since we're just on the subject, we might as well roll with it, that people don't always know, is that you can negotiate your fees. When we opened our first Max Muscle store, they told us what we had to pay them, and then that was it. Here's your royalty, here's your national marketing fund, and that's it. Oh, plus it costs this up front. And come to find out, we're in the system with other people that weren't paying as much as us, and weren't as successful as us either. Which, you know, it was time, we were still under contract, but you know, the next time we signed a franchise agreement, we negotiated the amount up front. In fact, when we did transfers, we negotiated that amount too, all the way down to hardly nothing. And then you can negotiate your royalties too. Those are all options on the table with most companies. Now, they may tell you they're not.
Yeah.
But it's like a car salesman. When you're about to walk off the lot, wait.
Yeah.
And they come back wanting to get you in the door. So
I think that's where I ran into actually a problem with Flannel Jacks, is they had been down that road with their previous franchise. I can't say that they for sure negotiated on those things, but as soon as a franchise negotiates on those options, they have to disclose it in their financial disclosure document, and then anybody can negotiate it. So I think they'd done that before and realized, if we do this, then everybody's going to ask for this cheaper rate.
Right. So they just
they said no.
Wow.
They said we're not willing to.
There you go.
I'm like, okay.
I think that's how I would be.
And it makes sense.
Yeah.
I've got a product. It's great. If you want it, you pay my price. My price is fair.
Right.
It's not too much. It's enough for me to make money. It's enough for you, it not to drain you dry. You're still going to make X amount.
Right. Yeah. So it's all good.
Yeah, but I did, because I didn't know that, and then you and I had the conversation of, when I was going through this. So I did ask and try to get it negotiated, and I even talked to my franchise consultant, said, hey, I really, I'm concerned about all this. And he said, I've seen people negotiate. He's like, that doesn't start the relationship off on a good foot, and these guys aren't the type to negotiate. So
left it alone.
Yeah. He's like, I'll ask for you also, but it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. No? I mean, you got to try, right? Yeah. I'm the worst negotiator ever. In fact, Erin always jokes. My wife is Erin. She's a negotiator. When she gets a new home, usually they don't give, when she buys a new home for her clients or with her clients, they usually don't give anything away for free. You have to buy your air conditioning, you have to buy your refrigerator, any upgrades. Erin always makes it a point to get, she tries to make it a point to get any upgrades she can. And, you know, it's always a joke because I got a free fridge for him. It's always something, because otherwise what's the point of needing a real estate agent?
Yeah.
And so she's really good at negotiating. When we go to Mexico, she's really good at negotiating. And she jokes around that I'll pay 3 times as much for this pair of sunglasses because I feel sorry for the Mexicans in the beach there, you know, and where she'll get 3 pairs of sunglasses for half the money, you know. To me, she's taking advantage, and that's where I lose it, because I have a heart problem. Like I literally, my heart talks for my money sometimes.
I get it. So my first real estate deal ever, and Rebecca, neither one of us are strong negotiators. Rebecca's cheaper than I am, though. So our first real estate deal ever, we go into it, and the place was $130,000. And our agent, he was great. This was before, really, I knew you, and way before you were in real estate. But our agent was great.
Are you apologizing for not using me? But
yes, yes, I am. But he was great. But he was more of a home buyer agent versus an investor agent. You know, any real estate agent can handle investors, but very few real estate agents specialize in investors. So, you know, he gave us the best advice he could, but he couldn't really tell us, hey, you're paying too much, or you know, they're asking too much, or anything like that. So the place was for $130,000. We offered $120. Rebecca was upset because she thought we should offer $100 or $110. She thought we were leaving money on the table. If we'd known that 6 months later the world was going to fall apart in the real estate, I would have offered $80. I mean,
oh, you got upside down, huh?
Oh, we were upside down quick. And then it was a learning experience. I had all sorts of issues, but so anyway, now when Rebecca says, hey, you're offering too much, I just go say, okay.
Smart man. Save the marriage and your business.
You know, and it's paid off over time. She's been right. I mean, that same place. So in the condition that it was in, because it needed about $15,000 worth of work in it. When we bought it, it appraised for that $130. We got it for $120. I'm like, okay, we got a little bit of a discount. This is great. So we bought 2 other similar properties. They were both 3 other similar properties during the recession. The one was for 60, one was for 65, and one was for 70, and all needed about the same amount of work. So yeah, we overpaid, but I also think we underpaid on those other ones. So
evens out. Well, I think we should talk about why we call in our show what we call it, and kind of the concept behind it, because I feel like this is probably going to be quite boring if we don't. So the show is called Fuck That Job or Fuck Your Job? Fuck Your Job.
Fuck Your Job.
Okay.
Fuck Your Job.
Yeah. And so it'll be in like F with some
You can
symbols.
take this right here.
Yeah, so artwork. That's all that is. This is actually my bail bonds office, and we went through and did a lot of work to it. I did it all myself. I wanted to just represent art, basically, and we'll give you a little tour later, but that was fun, 2 months. And then by the end of the 2 months, I was ready to kill myself.
It's a lot of work to do that stuff.
Oh my gosh, and it's all art, so you have to take your time and make it cool, and so that was part of it. It's not that great of art, but it's funny as hell.
Good for Fuck Your Job. So anyway, we're calling it Fuck Your Job. Don't expect us to censor ourselves.
Right.
I guess I'm use a little bit less language than you do on on a day-to-day basis. But really, the whole mindset is that we don't want people tied to a job that aren't happy in their job.
Right.
I know there were, 4 out of 5 days a week, there was at least one time where I wanted to throw my hands up and be like, fuck this job and walk out.
That's sort of the whole thing, right? Fuck this job that you're in.
Yeah.
We all get to that point.
Yeah.
And
so
we're making options for them.
Yeah, we want to give you the options, the education, and the support group that you need in order to hold on to your job for long enough, but also transition out of that job.
Yeah.
So, and do something that you're passionate about.
We're starting a tribe, because everybody does, right? And it's called the Legion of something. I can't
Jobless Legion.
Yeah, the Jobless Legion.
So join the Jobless Legion. And
there you go.
Start your own business.
There you go. I like it. That's pretty cool. So we'll have a forum for them to sign up in, and
probably start with a Facebook group.
Okay.
But get going with that, because that's the free group.
Right, free group. Yeah.
Join the Jobless Legion.
Join the Jobless Legion, folks. Fuck that job.
Yeah. And if you got any questions,
fuck your job. See, I said it wrong already. It's fuck your job. Okay.